Live. Are we live?
Oh, I think we're
All right.
live.
Hello, everybody. I'm looking at the wrong camera.
Yeah.
I'm very confused. So, anyway, excited to be with you. Welcome to Geopolitics and Money. How are you?
I am doing okay.
I know you got so much on your plate.
So much going on right now.
I do appreciate you setting all this stuff.
Of course.
I have no idea what to put the angles. I my thing. I'll be honest. So anyway, excited to be with you all. We are also, I don't know if I should use the term excited or not about the topic. Well, it is.
Yeah.
We'll get into that.
You're right. It's kind of hard to say excited about
but
it.
At the same time, we have to speak truth. And
Right.
that is our objective in helping our community and helping at least whomever in the US watching the channel and all that stuff. Before we delve into all this, let's talk about some changes we're going to be making to the channel. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so as you guys know, we've switched to geopolitics and money, and we are 100% focused on economics right now. We figure there is no greater benefit that we could give you guys than the knowledge and information and community around what is happening in the world in terms of the tariffs, in terms of global economics in general. You can't separate anything going on anywhere in the world from economics. Everything is done because of it. But so few people are taught that. We're taught, oh, pay attention to this over here. Oh, pay attention to this over here, when the real answer lies in economics. So I'm going to be giving you guys more very in-depth geopolitical economic analyses. Please be on the lookout for them. This is new, so the algorithm is not exactly loving it yet. So the more we can get you guys involved in that, the more views we can get, the stronger the channel will get. Also, we are restarting our Patreon.
Yeah, we're gonna restart that one.
It's something that will help the channel out a lot. One of the big problems with YouTube, and you hear a lot of YouTubers talk about this, is that if you ever take a break, if you ever need a breather, YouTube penalizes you for doing that. So Patreon will allow us to keep giving you really good content, and it will also allow the show to continue. So if you do really want to support the show, please check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/GPIC. I'll put it in the chat in a second. And if you're a member of the channel already, please go to the members only section, and there's like a free month for you guys if you just want to click the link, so you can transfer your membership over to Patreon.
So,
yeah.
And we do take this opportunity to say thank you to all the community for its continued support. So remember, they've been with us for almost 5 years.
5 years, guys. Thank you for
Really
5
grateful
years.
to you, so for all the support. Let's get into our topic about really what Mr. As a matter of fact, I do have a picture if I can get it. I don't know where I put it, but basically what it is that Mr. Trump is saying, well, you know what? We have generated so much money because we put tariffs.
Okay, yes.
About $150 billion. That's how much we generated. Well, it's a freaking lie. Why is this? It's because that $150 billion turned out to be the taxes that American consumers are paying.
Yes.
So basically what the White House is saying, which is lying to begin with, because we all know, you all know this, all of you. You knew that the tariff wasn't going to work. And at least if you do the tariffs, you don't do it in the manner by which Donald Trump approached it. That at least where the problem is. I understand the importance to a degree of tariffs because every country has to protect its own products and so forth. Yeah, that's understood. But the fashion and the way Mr. Trump went about it, and all of a sudden lying when he realizes that, you know what? It was a major pushback by other countries.
Yes.
He was thinking he's going to sort of force China to bow to his demand, only to find out that China pushed back and that this is where that $150 billion coming from.
Yeah. Okay. So let's dive into this for a second, because the Trump tariffs are absolutely chaotic. And at the very beginning, Trump had a whole thing at the very beginning when he was basically talking about reshoring, right? We're going to do these we're going to do these tariffs for two reasons. One, we're going to do them to reshore, bring all of the factory workers, all the factory industry, everything back to the United States. Okay, well, with absolutely no infrastructure in place to do that, that has been an absolute colossal failure. But David, you're absolutely right. On the other end of that, right now we're seeing basically other countries starting to fire back to the tariffs. And then there is, of course, the question of who is actually paying for them. Yeah. So let me share this with you guys. Let me share this lovely chart right here. Sorry, guys, bear with me. There it is.
I'll share quickly here. Okay. Just want to show the picture for the community to see. This is the one we're talking about. It's the American people that are paying for it.
Absolutely. So, and that is something. So, as the big beautiful bill was touted as being large sweeping tax cuts, well, I mean, they got to find it somewhere. So we'll also go into the deficit, because that's fine that 150 billion was collected in tariffs, but we're still facing a deficit. So kind of what is the point of that? So let's look at this. So this is for the Peterson Institute for International Economics. So how much tariff revenue is collected on different products? So what we're looking at here, so this is back in January, but we're looking at consumer goods actually being the highest. Mm-hmm. Consumer goods is this lovely green line right here. I'm going to make it a little bigger for you guys. And this is up until June. So consumer goods, where is that going to get passed on to? Consumers. Yeah. Then we have industrial intermediates, capital goods, raw materials, and other merchandise. So we are seeing that the bulk of the tariffs are actually on consumer goods specifically.
Yeah. Well, I had a chance to read an article, and we are going to share it with you. At least I did. And this one has to do. It was written by Rachel West and Laura Val Gutierrez. So it was very, very interesting, and they were spot on, because both of them, I looked at their background. Mm-hmm. They are involved in economics, and I couldn't agree more with their arguments for the fact that the Trump's sort of tariffs policy. This is what we are arguing about. Mm-hmm. Is the idea of how Trump won about it. Because what the tariffs end up doing, they end up squeezing the American consumers. I went to the grocery store yesterday.
Yeah.
You know why I went? I want to check on one thing.
Okay.
To check on the prices of eggs. I don't need to buy eggs.
Yeah, you guys chickens.
At home. So
yeah,
I kid you not. Mm-hmm. I didn't know you know what I saw the prices at? $12.
Yeah.
And I was like, because that just shows you, because it's been a long time since I bought eggs. Mm-hmm. And just in a matter of a year and a half,
yes,
or even 2 years, I remember the dozen of eggs used to be about $6.
Yeah.
It's 12. And I am asking myself, an average citizen, this is where the idea of Donald Trump squeezing the American consumers' finances now, because it's in every term. You look at the higher prices, okay, at the grocery store, which I wish I would have taken a picture, but I didn't get to it. So.
Well, that's the kind of stuff you can put on our Patreon.
Okay, that's what we're going to do. In addition to that, this tariff is also impacting the small businesses, because now the small businesses are struggling. And here is where I found very problematic, is that even mainstream media, they were lying about it. I saw a clip coming out of CNN. You know what they're saying? Oh, inflation for last month only went up about 0.2%.
Right.
Which is a flat lie. Mm-hmm. So my point in all this is that now we are seeing the consequences of these ill-conceived policies. Mm-hmm. I am not saying tariffs shouldn't, you can enter into negotiations with other countries.
Right.
But the way Trump went about it just doesn't realize that the world has changed. Mm-hmm. The world of when he was in his first term is different from what it is today.
Absolutely.
And that is the big mistake I think even India now is finding out.
Yes. So I do want to dive into that a
I
little
did
bit
like yesterday. I
later.
had a conversation with the giant
Oh,
Bahrain.
yeah.
Oh, he doesn't hold back.
Yeah.
Well, rightly so. I know some people do not like him for being honest, but hey, straightforward. And India now realizing that if you obey the master,
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna whip you. And that's exactly what the US is doing to India.
Yeah.
Even though I disagree with some scholars here in the US, arguing that, oh, India's economy is gonna go up.
Well, right now, India is facing some really hard choices. And I think it's interesting. I want to talk a little bit later about, is the US actually pushing India towards China, which I think we're going to do an entire show on that, because as the US is pushing India farther and farther away, where does India have to go? China. That's it.
Yeah, but even with that in itself, are you going to trust India? We're talking about government here.
No, for
the
sure.
Others who are saying, well, yeah, China will just do business with them, but no. Because if it is, I am going to, like I always say, I'm a student of history.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to just give you one example. And the example is the electric buses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember this. That was about 3 or 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There was a deal between India and China. They were to enter into China providing. But guess what? India didn't pay up. It's a fair share.
Yeah.
And China said, forget about getting into business with you. And rightly so. If I were advising the Chinese government, I said, no. You know, unless they put 50% down on the table before signing, before inking any document whatsoever.
Yeah.
And this is why now, you know what I'm noticing? The media inside China, inside India, is lying about now having the high-speed trains in India. India doesn't have a high-speed. They're stealing the pictures from China and using it. I saw it, and this is why we always say, be careful about what you are watching on YouTube and from Indian media outlets just propagating those kind of pictures, which is nothing true. The reason why, because China turned down India for high-speed train.
Guys, is David's microphone not working? Yeah, David, say something.
Test.
Okay, guys, give me a second. Let me fix David's microphone. All right, keep going. I guess so. Oh, well. All right, guys, give me a second.
Life goes on.
Would you like me to show, actually? Before I do that, why don't I put up a chart so you can talk about it?
Okay.
Actually, you can't talk about it because...
No, take a look. But I can talk about my article that I got.
Yes.
So, and this is where the idea of... I got the picture here. I'm going to use that one. This is where just to go back to this point regarding
Can anyone hear anything? Hello. Can you hear us?
Okay. If you can hear it, please give a thumbs
Yes,
up.
please give us a thumbs up. Can you hear us?
Restart the computer.
Wow. No audio at all. Oh.
No audio. Okay.
All right, hold on. Let me see.
Sometimes happens. It's back. Sound is back. That's it. It's back.
Okay.
It's back. Juan said it's back. Verki
Okay.
said, yeah.
Is sound
Yeah.
back?
It's back. It's back. That's it. Francis Tango, thumbs up. I hear you both.
Yes.
Sound is back. That's it.
Fantastic.
Now I don't know if you heard what I said before.
Oh,
but
man.
I don't mind repeating because we
The
want
joys of live.
Yeah, it's part of it, you know.
Here, David, let me share this because this is a really interesting chart that I found.
Oh yeah, let's see that
AP,
one.
the Associated Press actually did this, and it is the cost of groceries, housing, and healthcare are stressful for most people. So looking at the major stressor, which is this thing in blue, 53% of adults
Wow.
listed as a major stressor. 33% minor stressor, and only 14 not a source of stress. So housing is about 50%. Savings is about 40%. How much you get paid is about 40%. Cost of healthcare, here I'll make it a little bigger, is 42%. Credit card debt, 29, student debt, and cost of childcare. So it is a major stressor for most people, regardless of what the inflation numbers technically are.
Yeah.
And I will also add this one. I'm going to share this too. So this is adults under 45 are more likely to cite it as a major stressor. So that's 18 to 44, right? So that's the generations that are after Gen X. So this is an enormous amount of people. I mean, especially this one. If you look at cost of groceries being 53%. Now, you're looking at a country that is supposedly the greatest country in the world.
The wealthiest.
Yeah, the wealthiest country in the world. And 53%. So more than half of all people, all adults, are citing that as a major stressor. So, and almost everyone is citing it as some level of stressor.
Yeah. And that shows really where the challenges that lies ahead. And like, I don't know, well, since you guys didn't hear what I said before, I mentioned about how those now the policies of Donald Trump are not impacting the consumers, they're impacting the workers, they're impacting the small businesses. I mean, you're looking at a whole, in addition to the uncertainty that it creates.
Yeah.
And like I said, if there's anything you've learned when it comes down to business, is that the market does not like uncertainty.
Right.
Simple as that. And interesting enough is that we're seeing this is now across the board regarding the West, collective West, that is. Yes, there are the same certain level of challenges, economically speaking, in some other countries. Nobody's denying that. But the fact for us here in the US is the reaction of the policies implemented in Washington are reflecting on.
Okay, so I want to real talk for a second about something, because we have you look at charts like that, and the majority of people, so the literally the vast majority of people in the United States are concerned about what? They're concerned about food, they're concerned about housing, medical care. I mean, the foundational things that you need for a society, okay?
Yeah.
What else is happening right now? What is happening right now in Washington, D.C.? What has Trump just done in terms of basically militarizing the Washington, D.C.?
I heard about that.
And Los Angeles before it.
It's problematic. It's problematic.
So that's what I'm saying is right now what we're seeing is a large amount of people who can't pay for things. Okay. Yeah. They can't pay for basic needs. And what happens when you have a large population that can't pay for things? Basic stuff, right? Healthcare, food, housing. What do you get?
Yeah. An angry population.
You get an angry population.
They're gonna descend to the street. Is this means that Trump is already getting ahead of it by preparing? So, and here is one thing that most Americans I would say majority, not all, but it's against the Constitution for
Mhm.
a president to issue an order by having U.S. military
Yes.
deployed on a U.S. soil.
Yeah.
That's like, for example, at least I was in the intelligence community. When you look at, for example, certain, like every country has a domestic and foreign
Mhm.
intelligence agencies that deal with what the one that deals with the foreign aspect has no constitutional right of operating domestically.
Yeah.
Which we all know those laws have never been observed
I-
or honored or respected.
Well, because who would hold them accountable?
Nobody.
They're the agency that
This
would
is the
hold.
problem. Yeah, this is the problem.
I think my favorite headline of all time was
Yeah.
like something like CIA finds no link between itself and crack trade. I was like, wow, really?
Yeah, yeah.
What a surprise.
Yeah,
They didn't find a link
if only
between
people know what
themselves.
happened in Southern California back in the 70s and who introduced drugs into all that.
Well, and that in a sense, that's actually like fairly common,
Yeah.
common,
Yeah.
conspiracy or whatever right now.
Yeah.
But
But
just
it
thought
just
that was
no,
hilarious.
it brought up a key point. So as far as why is Trump all of a sudden focusing on
Mhm.
militarizing? All of a sudden you start to question the judgment of a sitting president.
Yeah.
When the focus, American families are struggling economically, and he's thinking about law enforcement. He's thinking about, makes you just wonder, is he all right? As far as his thinking.
Well,
And a lot of people now starting to question. Is starting to question
Mhm.
his mental state.
Things have gotten so insane. I mean, never, and I'm not going to say, oh, it's Trump or
No.
Kamala Harris would have been better,
No.
because I absolutely
No.
do not
No,
believe
she
that.
won't. Uh-huh.
It probably would have been the same, but I think regardless of whether it's Trump or Kamala Harris
Yeah.
or Joe Biden or whatever, we've seen things get more and more barbaric almost in the United States. And the whole big promise was, Trump is going to make America great again.
No.
And for a while, the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, came out and said, well, there's going to be some pain associated in the transition because we're trying to fix the economy, guys. We're trying to fix the economy. The problem is I do not see at this moment, Donald Trump's administration cannot bully Jerome Powell. Okay. They can't bully him for whatever reason to lower interest rates so that they could refinance debt. Okay. In theory, that's a decent idea, but we're not looking at. So let me share this actually, because this is a really important piece of this. If what was happening was that the tariffs were getting lower and lower, or the tariffs were bringing enough money here. I'm going to get rid of that so there's no ads. But the U.S. deficit grew by $291 billion despite the tariff revenues. So we're not looking at a situation where the tariffs are covering the deficit.
Yeah.
So what exactly is it that they're doing? If they're not covering the deficit, they're not even close to covering the deficit.
Yeah. Well, that's why the
half of this number.
The
Go
national
ahead.
debt, I think, went up now to 37.
USdebtclock.org.
Yeah, I think I saw an article in which they mentioned about the 37.
Well, here, it is 37. So check it out. Check it out. You can see it on your screen.
Yeah, the source of that was right. Was accurate. Yes. 37.
Yep.
Yeah. So and that's a problematic. But here is the thing: with all this happening, I mean, we all know how it is. You start to ask yourself the logical question: is how is the rest of the world looking at this from outside in?
Yeah.
And that brings to the fore the idea of, will there be the emergence of some other economic blocks that could sort of reroute the trajectory of the global order, economically speaking? And the answer is yes, in my opinion. And why am I mentioning this? Because when you think about, yesterday it was announced that now the yuan, the Chinese, has been now adopted on the international stage.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I've said this before, I don't necessarily think that the yuan is going to take over.
No.
The real question is, can the dollar be one currency among many? Because back in the day, we didn't necessarily have, a way to process 100 different currencies, right?
Yeah.
Now we have such sophisticated payment methods and payment systems that you can process multiple currencies. You can do that in real time. You can use the internet and do that. And so it's not, I think, necessary to have one currency anymore.
Well, it's because we, like we always say, we weaponize it.
Yes.
We used it in a wrong way. So the world gets sick of it, and rightly so. For us to go and sanction an individual, her name is Francisca Albanese. I don't know if you know. She's at the UN. She was the UN representative in Gaza because of what she stated.
Yeah.
We went ahead and sanctioned her. Yeah. How pathetic of us for somebody who's speaking the truth, and that's again, countries are looking at it differently in the sense of, time has come now to reconsider this sort of reliance on the US dollar. This is why the de-dollarization has been accelerated faster than we can anticipate.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to bring into this conversation, this one has to do with the upcoming summit of the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And why is this important? Because one particular reason, when you think about the SCO, it is mainly for a security aspect, but also can translate into an economic one, given the central role Euro-Asia plays in the global economy. And what did we do recently? We went ahead and brought up two countries, Azerbaijan and Armenia, and told them, you need to sign some agreements. And in return, we got now to set up shop in Armenia. You all know what it means, both geopolitically and economically. And that is, again, where I see these challenges coming forward, given now the policies of Trump has proved they are failure, basically.
Well, so I also, speaking to that, I want to share this with you guys. So this is from Statista, and it is, let me see if I can share this with you guys. So this is where China is actually filling the US export gaps.
Yeah.
And I think this is a very interesting, let me add it to the stage. How do I add you? This is a very, very interesting graph because it is looking at where else all of these goods are going. Instead of going to the United States, where else are they going? And there are a couple of things that I really want to highlight. So the first is ASEAN. And this is in billions of dollars. So this is $322.5 billion. And it's at 13% from the first half of 2024, last year. From the first half of 2024, this is up 13%. Now, I will say that it doesn't come without consequences also for ASEAN nations, because Chinese goods are made cheaply. I am not saying that they're cheap. I'm saying they're made more cheaply than they can be other places in the world. For example, like they have infrastructure in ways that other places in the world don't. And in my opinion, they've kept the value of their currency low on purpose, which is not necessarily like a bad thing for them. Don't worry, that was over there.
Okay, I thought it was mine.
So actually, the bulk of exports are actually going to ASEAN. So that's really important.
Yeah, but it is improving the economic conditions for those countries.
Well, yeah. So, okay. So,
which is the whole idea of why you want to enter. Well, this is why when you think about it, the countries that have, for example, enter into some economic ventures with China, how did they end up faring out economically? Think of Vietnam, think of Cambodia.
Yes.
And think of India. When you think about why all of a sudden India now shifting that interest, why all of a sudden?
Well, so this is what I'm saying about it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. What I am
Yeah.
saying is, so for example, this happened in Sri Lanka, I believe. So Sri
When
Lanka,
the finance, yes.
there, so China came in with their textiles, which are better quality for cheaper prices.
Okay.
No longer could the Sri Lankan companies that made textiles compete on price
Yeah.
and on quality with the
The ones
textiles
coming
that
from China.
came from
Okay.
China.
Okay.
And so that crippled their textile industry because they could no longer
Mhm.
compete with what was coming
Yeah.
from China. So there, it's I want to bring a well-rounded argument to this.
Yeah.
It's not just like China good or China bad, or
Yeah.
economics good or economics bad, because there are both sides to that. And I think it's important for a well-rounded discussion to have
yeah.
all of that.
And we can hear, it's nice to hear different perspectives. But
Yes.
here is one thing that I want the community to know, especially about Sri Lanka, that I was familiar with the case from way back, that some financial institutions here in the US were involved in certain type of loans
Mhm.
through the IMF, through the
Oh,
World
absolutely,
Bank,
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
including JP Morgan. But here is where the challenge is.
Yeah.
Not the challenge, but rather where the lie that I found out is that later on, when Sri Lanka finances start to show signs of collapsing, you know what was the narrative that came out? It was the debt trap by
Right,
China.
right. And that's not true.
That's
That's
where
absolutely
that's
not
what I
true. Yeah.
realized. It's no different than now when you are looking at a massive corruption that now been exposed in Bangladesh, to the point that now the High Court in Dhaka, the
Yeah.
capital of Bangladesh, is asking they need to bring in Sheikh Hasina
Mhm.
from India, because India is harboring the corrupted Hasina.
Mhm.
So I even asked the community that question: do you guys think India will do the right thing and extradite Sheikh Hasina?
Yeah.
We all know.
It depends how much connections and friends.
Well, not
There
only that,
are.
even a minister now in England
Mhm.
with ties to the Sheikh Hasina family was
Mhm.
found involved in corruption. In Britain.
Oh my gosh, you mean the elites?
Yes.
The elites
Yeah,
are tied up in
Yeah.
things that they really
Exactly.
shouldn't be.
So,
No way.
well, that just
What
to
a
highlight to you the idea.
surprise. No, they're all
This is-
perfect.
Yeah, and this is why India does not want the likes of Nepal, the likes of Bangladesh, the
Mhm.
likes of Bhutan, for them to even establish strong economic ties with China.
Mhm.
This is what, and to me, it begs the question: why should China even entertain the idea of entering into some talks with India regarding economics, when we know how India operates? We know that even its labor quality is not up to standards.
And that is an issue that Russia actually also had with India, is the quality control was very low. And it is true. I mean, quite frankly, there are not very many goods that even we get here in the United States from India for that reason.
Yeah.
India has not, and don't get me wrong, there were parts of India when I went that I absolutely loved and thought were incredible. One of my best friends is Indian. And so, like, nothing against India, please hear that.
Of course, yeah.
But the infrastructure in India has much to be lacking.
Yeah.
You guys, I don't know if you know this about me or not, but I'm absolutely obsessed with human longevity. I think it is maybe the most fascinating thing, other than global economics, in existence. There's a guy named Brian Johnson, and he's a little eccentric, or quite very eccentric.
Mhm.
But he went to India, and he really optimizes his health. Like, he focuses on clean water, clean air, clean eating. He takes a lot of supplements. He takes really good care of himself. When he went to India, he walked everywhere with an air filter, like a big air filter, and he said that he could not breathe. He was getting sick. And people are just walking around acting like that's normal. It's not. You should be able to breathe.
Yeah.
That's a pretty basic human right.
Yeah. It's just the bigger picture, the way I look at it economically and geopolitically, for why, just to tie it back to our conversation about the tariffs and so forth. Here is Trump turning or stabbing India in the back.
Yeah.
But again, India got what it deserves. What do you think you're going to get from your master? Simple as that. The master will only pat you in the back when it's convenient for the master.
Well, quite
Simple as
frankly,
that.
so I want to add this back to the stage and just go over these numbers a little bit more quickly, and then I want to talk about that, David, because
Yeah.
really when we're looking at the US, not only on the geopolitical stage, but internally, there is mass chaos being sown. Like this makes absolutely no sense if you're looking at self-preservation.
Yeah.
But really quickly, let's look at EU. So EU is actually the next. So it was the US, but the change
Interesting.
since the first half of 2024 is up almost 7%. So, and to speak to the next number down, the US, that's $215.6 billion. That's down almost 11% since the first half of 2024. So
Wow.
that reflects what we're seeing right now is these Chinese exports are going to these other places.
Yeah.
The next one that I actually want to look at are Latin America right here and Africa, because there's gonna be some episodes on this, guys, because this is really interesting. There is a battle going on right now between the US and China over Latin America and Africa.
That's true.
And if you look at both, this is 141.3 billion for Latin America, up 7.3%, and Africa is 103 billion dollars, up 21%.
Yeah.
There is an economic war going on right now between China and the United States over Africa. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for that. One of them is resources, mineral resources, natural resources. And the other is that Africa still has one of the largest and cheapest workforces in the world. So whereas the Western world and most places in the world, right now we're seeing a population decline. Throughout the Western world, we're seeing a massive population decline. Throughout Europe, massive population decline. Even Japan, even China has a population problem because of the one-child policy, right? So where is the cheap labor now? Where is it going?
Africa.
It's going to Africa. And so China, and there's a lot of ports. There's a lot in Africa that is worth having. And so this is particularly interesting, and I want you guys to pay attention to Africa and China's role in Africa over the next decade, because I think that is a really important piece of information.
I just find out that some French companies now, they are running out of business. And you know why? Because that's where they used to bring uranium. They import uranium from Burkina Faso, Niger, and all that stuff. They don't have that access anymore.
Well, they shouldn't. And, I think Africa's taste for France is
some factories or locations rather in France, that because they can't get it. Where are they going to get the uranium from?
Right.
So they can't get it from Russia. Even for us, the Americans, we get it from the Russians, believe it or not. Most Americans.
That was not in the sanctions.
No, it was not in the sanctions. That tells you right where things are. It's just the idea of, and that brings me back to my earlier point about are we going to see the economic blocks that is moving up the ladder sort of to make the path for the new trajectory of the global economy? Because that's the way I see it. Because there is no other way of thinking about it. Because we will not be in a position to compete with the Chinese, for example, in all aspects.
Right. I think the area that the United States, so there's two things the United States is doing to combat China, okay? To combat the rise of China. Okay? They tried to use the tariffs, okay? And although that would hurt China, it also hurts the United States.
Not necessarily. They're not as much as we think they might. It's not going to impact the Chinese as much as it does for us.
But what I'm saying is, regardless of whether it hurts China or not,
course, to a degree,
there's consequences here too.
Of course.
It's not like that's that's not without consequence.
Just think about the same arguments regarding India when it comes down to farmers. You know what the tariffs from the US going to do? The Indian economy is already crumbling to begin with. Even the growth has been slowing, despite what they are saying or the statements coming out of New Delhi.
Yeah.
At least in the case of China, you don't have the same arguments because China is not experiencing the same. yes, there are some issues regarding certain type of businesses in China, the consumption, but even I read the numbers regarding the projection now. They expecting the Chinese growth for the next year to be for about between 4.5 and 5%.
Yeah.
Well, given the conditions of the global economy, is not bad. I'll take that number anytime.
Well, especially compared to where we are right now.
Yeah. So
But there is I will also say this though, when there is the United States is at well past its peak. I mean, it's in the decline stage right now. But when you are at a certain point, it is harder to get growth, especially using the same tactics that that kind of got you to where you were to be going to get to a decline place. You can't use the same thinking so China is on its way up. There's just no question about that. But I wanted to show this figure. So this one is from the Peterson Institute for International Economics also. And that is how much tariff revenue the U.S. is collecting on different countries. So clearly right here, we have at the top, it's China. So the monthly tariff revenue, you can see it right there in the percentage. So China is by far the highest. So that's where I'm speaking to, like, it, even if it were to hurt China, China's not going to eat this percentage. They're just not.
No way.
And so the US, the people buying, because remember up here, number one is consumer goods. And where do most Americans get consumer goods from? I mean, if you go into any big chain store here, where do most things come from? They come from China. Most consumer goods come from China. So if we are looking at most of these consumer goods, and China being the bulk place where this very high tariff is, it is unquestionably going to get passed on to the consumer. There's no choice.
Well, that is where this issue is regarding. It makes you just wonder whether average American, understand this dynamics. And
no,
to me, where
they don't, and this drives me bananas. But the narrative is, it's the country that's going to eat it. You cannot eat tariffs that are this high. No manufacturer, but most manufacturers are not making enough profit for that. They're not making enough. There's no margin for that. And so there isn't a choice. The consumer is going to have to eat some of that.
Some of that one. Well, I look at it, for example, I was talking yesterday to someone who deals with in a dealership for cars, and I brought up the idea that Toyota lost like $9 billion. But he said they are also restructuring certain aspects of it. So and Toyota is not the only one. Other companies, well, of course, because they are concerned and fearful of the Chinese vehicles, electric ones.
They should be. They're nice.
When I was there and I saw that, oh man. If I had it for me, I'll purchase one. But again, I asked the gentleman there. He let me sit in a car. I went to BYD. The manager was so kind and let me record and do whatever. And I asked the question and I said, "Okay, explain to me, please. If I purchase this here at this price, what was the price? A luxury one is about $26,000.
You can't even get like the basic model. I think Camry for that.
Said the problem for that now with what the US is planning on doing is that if you buy this here, you're gonna have to pay almost 100%.
Honestly, it still might be cheaper.
It's not bad for the convenience and the luxury of it. I didn't test drive it, and I wasn't willing to do that. Because the driving rules in China, whatever.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, I would.
Till I get comfortable enough knowing how things work. But he was kind enough and he welcomed me back to come back if ever. So I said, sure, I will. My point in all this is that the idea of the fear, not only in the automobile industry, but also in other aspects. And one of critical importance, in my opinion, has to do with AI. Moving forward.
Yes.
It's because here is the thing. For the AI domain, you're going to need to have the cooperation of other countries. But again, given how we are treating the Chinese? Do you think the
Well,
Chinese will be?
Okay, so here's the thing. So
Yeah.
there is a white paper. My husband is very into AI, and so he made sure that both of us were aware
Yeah.
of the white paper that came out, and there's gonna be a recorded show on it because it's really, really
Very
important.
important. Very
So
important.
it was talking about actually the responsibility that both the US and China have.
Yeah.
It's not just the US and it's not
Yeah.
just China, but it's the responsibility that the US and China have
Yeah.
to slowing AI down so that we can keep up with it, so that we can actually do
Yeah.
AI responsibly.
Yeah, I just don't see how the US will and on
Well, it was an open call.
yeah, but on China's going to have to be very, very methodical, very strategic in moving forward, because you can't trust the Americans. This is what's at the bottom of it. I mean, I take the example of what took place in the ISS, the International Space Station.
Yeah.
And what we did to the Chinese astronauts, had no merit whatsoever for us to be treating the Chinese astronauts. They don't call them astronauts. There is another term for that. But the fact that just because they happen to be Chinese, all of a sudden, but it created something completely new.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like what Dr. Tyson said, Neil deGrasse. And I could see the logic in his argument, even though
I don't trust him
I
as
don't
far
trust
as
him
I
either.
can throw him.
His argument, what was his argument, is that, we did this one so we could create another space race. That's nonsense.
The next space race is AI.
Yeah, it's nonsense.
There is not another
it's
space
because
race.
We didn't expect the Chinese to move that fast in building their own space station, and they end up completing that venture, and now they have their own.
Well, and this sort of became about China, but I think the reality is that this isn't about China. This is about the US using policies of sanctioning and exclusivity, and having that really backfire. Because if you look at the places where the United States has used this, it's absolutely backfired. I mean, we looked at Iran, we looked at Russia.
Yeah.
It's absolutely backfired in both of those places. The places that are sanctioned, they have to end up finding some other way to survive and thrive. And this is another situation where the US just kicked them out.
Yeah.
And so they were like, well, screw you. We're going to go do our own thing. And so that's what we're seeing on a global stage. And that is actually my biggest concern with the tariffs right now, is that it is excluding pretty much everyone in the world. And so everyone in the world is now looking and saying, okay, well, how do we bypass the United States? Which is absolutely not going to bring industry back to the US. That's not how you bring factory work back to the United States. That's not how you make America great again, is by excluding everybody else and making them find ways around you. So that is ultimately my big issue with what's happening with the tariffs right now, is because it basically took economics and weaponized it again.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Iran, by the way, I will be having a conversation tomorrow with Dr. Postal. I'm going to put the link for you.
Cool.
In the
Do you guys have any questions? Let's take a question. We haven't taken questions in a while. And then I'm going to put up here, guys, we have a new Patreon that I am so excited about.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm going to put that up there, and I'm going to make it a banner so you guys can see it. It's exciting.
Patreon. There we go.
Because on Patreon, I think you and I can do more impromptu kind of videos, like videos where we, you guys can see us, see what's going on, see some behind the scenes stuff of the show.
Sure.
Okay. Yes. Go ahead, David. What were you saying?
I was going to say, that would be great. Let me see if there's a question from
there was
anybody in the community. Army with Harmony. Do we all work for the UN? The UN is toothless. The thing is, here is how it works for the UN. It's because we are also contributing to the budget of the UN. And that's why, if you notice, we have a say into whatever decisions made, especially when it comes down to the deployment of the UN keep in force.
Mhm.
You know, like you remember the blue helmets, the white helmets, it was in Lebanon and some in Syria. Under no circumstances will any U.S. Military soldiers serve under a UN command. That is one, and that will never happen anyway. Same with NATO. We never fall under any other country except that the commanding officer of NATO will always have to be the military one. That is, will always have to be a 4-star U.S. general. They will never be a French. They will never. They will be or German or British, whatever. They will be a secretary general. As a matter of fact, most secretary generals for the NATO are Europeans. So that's the deal. That's how it's set up. Same arguments can be made about the IMF and the World Bank. There is always an American official who will head one of those organizations. The UN is the same. We're the one who dictate the budget. We're the one influencing that decision. And UN, it's sad enough that here is the UN, even with what's going on in Gaza, couldn't even declare. They couldn't declare officially on their website that there is massive starvation.
Well,
They didn't even do
you
that.
know, there's that saying, you know who's in charge because you know who you can't
Can
criticize.
That is true.
And so that is across the board
Yeah,
happening right now and has been for a long time.
it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
It
So-
is. It is really unfortunate.
All right. Well, I don't think so. We have any questions here. So we're going to sign off and we look forward to seeing you. We'll be, by the
Yes.
way, we're going to be doing some videos, some recorded topics that we feel you're going to need to know about. So we decided to change how we're going to be doing it here. So probably releasing about 2 recorded videos a week in addition, or even 3. We can squeeze that in, and in addition to our live stream. So even if one of us travels outside the US, we'll figure out a way of how to do that live stream for you, even if we have to record it and release it later on.
So
this-
yeah, and guys, please keep an eye out for them because we've been gone for a while. The YouTube algorithm is not pushing our
friendly.
video.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not happy with us for taking a little bit of a break here.
Yeah.
As you can see, the view count is very, very low. So please keep watching, keep checking back, keep making sure that you see our videos because the algorithm is not going to push it right now for at least a couple weeks.
Is that because YouTube doesn't like this channel?
No,
I'm just
well,
teasing.
no, I mean,
I'm
maybe,
just teasing,
maybe,
but
but it is
but
very
I'm not
common.
teasing.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Anyway, well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow on the other channel. I'll be having that conversation with Dr. Postel, and we will be posting some recorded videos on this channel, Geopolitics and Money, and mainly most of it, like Elizabeth said at the beginning, will be pertaining to the finance and economics. So we wish you a good day, afternoon, evening, whatever part of the world, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.